Yeah.
And I'll tell you the truth. I wrote it the other day, and some people slag me. I really enjoy the heck out of Floyd Mayweather Sr. I consider him another very competent boxing trainer. Just like Atlas, he's not the right guy for every fighter. Floyd Sr. likes guys like Guzman and guys like his son that are real stylists and, jab and good defense and all that. But Teddy Atlas isn't perfect for every guy either. I mean, Teddy did a great job with Shannon Briggs. But with all the screaming and yelling, Shannon got to be 21, 22 years old. And, Teddy cut back on the disciplinary part of it. And he didn't, and so they split up. I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
If I had my Atlas would have trained Shannon his whole career. But at a certain point, I went out of the picture, not because of any rift with Shannon, but because I had differences with the co-manager. But, again, look, Teddy Atlas, this charity thing he does is great. He gives a lot to his community in Staten Island. He came up rough, even though he was a doctor. He didn't get that scar on his face from a Tea Party. He's a tough guy. No, I'm not looking to get into any kind of a fight, verbal or physical, with Teddy Atlas. I would be trashing everything I ever wrote or said about the guy. All those years, especially at the New York Post. I'll never forget, one of the funniest quotes ever was Teddy had split up with David Wolf, who was a great writer who wrote the book on basketball star Connie Hawkins. But David later managed Boom Boom Mancini, and he managed Donnie Lalonde, who fought Ray Leonard. But Wolf and Lalonde split with Atlas, and David used to wear very, very ugly and didn't fit well his toupee. and Lalonde, who everyone thought was a blonde, dyed his hair. So Teddy called me, and I knew he had split with them, and said, Teddy Atlas said, Mike, you can put this in the New York Post about their hair. As far as the manager dyes it, he says Donnie Lalonde dyes it, and the manager Dave Wolf buys it. So I thought it was a funny line, and, they took offense. But, hey, in the rough and tumble world of boxing, Dennis, it's like the referee says, protect yourself at all times.
Exactly.
But I'm not going to get into a whizzing contest with Teddy Atlas. No need for that. I have a lot of respect.
Yeah, but my thing is...
I'm just giving him love, brother. I'm giving him love.
There you go.
If you got a story wrong, so what? I get stories wrong once a week, or maybe more often.
But
I'm speaking a little bit out of emotion, but I got no hate for Teddy Atlas, just respect.
Yeah, but the thing is, and that's good of you, but the thing is, my only, real motivation, my purpose of, writing that stuff about Teddy, I wanted to get the truth out of him, what was it, what was it, who was his source, as a journalist, that's what our job is,
What you're saying, Dennis, and that is valid, just like it would be if it was Atlas. Let's say Atlas criticized Tim Smith in the Daily News. Tim Smith, I call him Tiny Tim. He's a large fellow, and he's a very jolly guy, and I think he's a good reporter, and he's a heck of a guy. He does a good job for the Daily News, and I respect him as well. But I think somebody lied to him.
Okay.
Unnamed source, nothing wrong with that. That's part of the tools of the trade. But I think they both got lied to. It's just insanity to think that, like Bob Arum told me yesterday, he doesn't send emails, he doesn't type on the computer, and certainly his stepson, Todd, who's a very bright, might be almost as smart as Richard Schaefer, the smartest man in boxing, or so he says. Nobody in the Pacquiao camp would send out an email like that. That's just insanity. Like you said, Mayweather can't be waving that email all around.
Yeah.
Like you big disgrace. Here it is in your face. So,
and email nowadays is cheap,
I think frankly, Teddy's feeling the heat. He may have got it wrong. I don't think he did it because he hates Pacquiao, he hates Asians, he hates Filipinos. Come on, that's just as much garbage as nonsense as Gayweather and Floyd Gayweather and Mayweather's a coward. Come on, they're two fighters in boxing than Manny and Floyd. Let's respect them both. But again, I think Gatlin fumbled here. He's not perfect, neither am I, far from it. And I don't understand why he takes it so personal, because I don't.
Yep. And on that note, man, I appreciate giving us your thoughts. Classy. But, you know what I mean?
Thank you, dSource, and I heard your swimming career coming along so well that you'll be going head-to-head in the tank with Michael Phelps very soon.
Hey, I need to take my steroids first to get to Michael Phelps.
And if you want a good laugh, go to YouTube and find the old Superstar show on ABC where poor Joe Frazier almost drowned in the pool.
All right.
Joe, one of the greats. And by the way, while I have you, Dennis, don't forget the 17th, because you know what day that is.
The 17th? What?
January 17th, the greatest of all times, Muhammad Ali, born January 17th, 1942 in Louisville, Kentucky. And guess what? Double bonus. It's also Michelle Obama, our First Lady's birthday. But Dennis, I appreciate you giving me the equal time, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate it, Mikey. Thank you.